Excuse me, sir?
Oh, thank you. I was actually just looking for art supplies. But today, I'm not actually gonna need any money for supplies because you'd be really surprised at how much we throw away that could be used to make something really cool. Specifically, I'm talking about plastic cutlery. With a little imagination and creativity, I'm going to show you how to make a beautiful dragonfly and praying mantis using nothing but these. Okay. Now, like I said, what you're going to need are a bunch of plastic forks, spoons, and knives, and maybe some other stuff if you happen to find them. You're also going to want to maybe skip this project if you're allergic to fire, because you're going to need some sort of torch, and it doesn't have to be a fancy torch like this. You can use just a regular old run-of-the-mill everyday lighter like this one. Also something to snippy-do the ends and bits and pieces off. And I'm not really sure what else we're gonna need, but you'll find out as we go along. Also, this goes without saying, so I'm not going to. By the way, anyone have any jacked up fingers like this? Look at that. Look at that. I guess I haven't explained yet why you need the FAR. We're gonna use it instead of glue. So as you know, plastic melts, and when it melts, it becomes a liquid. And once it becomes a liquid, it can stick to itself. So let's take off 2 of these. First, you just want to start warming them up, just kind of passing them through the flame. See, they're getting kind of juicy and warm. Stick them together. And once they cool down, they will make a permanent bond. It's basically just welding the 2 parts together using heat and magic. Okay, before I start any project, I always figure out what are the parts of that project going to be. So let's think about the parts of a dragonfly. The tail section, some wings, the head, middle section, and then you've got 6 legs. And to start off, we're gonna go ahead and snip off the ends of 3 of these handles. Now we're gonna take 2 of them, melt the ends together, then we're gonna work on this one separately. Also gonna use a boater knife to smooth and round over the edges. Block that. Now we're gonna take this piece and we're gonna create sort of an arch right about here. Now we're gonna try to go ahead and melt this top piece onto the lower pieces. The goal is to make the profile look kinda like this. That knife do be very handy in smoothing edges. Now let's make this part. We're gonna warm up this whole section here and pull. You wanna warm it evenly because if you don't, you'll create hot spots and then they'll get super thin and you'll have big blobby bits over here and a thin spot here and it won't stretch evenly. Okay, once it starts to get floppy, gently pull it. And if you start getting too thin in one spot, you can blow on it. And then hold it tight and let it dry in that position. Then go ahead and trim it down to about 3 inches long. Now we're gonna take our tail and our body and we're gonna glue them together as well. Wow, that looks great. Okay, let's work on the head. We're gonna heat the tip of this handle and then just start rolling it up. Roll it up like a fruit roll-up. See how I warm it and then roll it over onto itself, and I just keep repeating that until it curls the whole end. Okay, so I got a little booger on the end when I was rolling it on the table, and that's not a big deal, I just didn't like it. So I'm gonna sand it off, and I'm gonna show you how to get rid of all these scratches using a technique called flame polishing, which literally just, you put this back in the flame, and it'll make it nice and shiny like the rest of the plastic. There, like that. So this is gonna be his little head with his little buggy eyes. I'm also gonna add just a little bump right here on the end. If you notice how dragonflies have like a little, I don't know, looks like they're wearing a mask actually. Just go ahead and bloop on a globe, and once you get the amount you want, you just sort of pull it off and go ahead and stick it back in the fire to round off all those edges. There, lock that. Okay, so we're just gonna cut it off back here, and then we're gonna stick it to the body. So the pair that are gonna sit up front are gonna be almost in line with his head at a slight angle. Then the second one, it's gonna be like this right behind it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut it off about right here. And like before, just warm up both sides that you're wanting to stick together, sploop that down on it. You'll see the boater knife really does come in handy when smoothing out those joints. And be careful not to hit any part of the sculpture with the torch that you're not working on. You could melt and booger up another spot that you're not wanting to be boogered. Uh-oh, it's starting to look like something. Now that we got it to this point, we need to add on the little legs. And the way I'm gonna do that is cut off 6 fork tines. And now we're gonna need to add some bends to them, warm up an area here, and then slowly bend it. And then I'm gonna warm up another area back here and bend it sort of outward. That'll give it sort of a, a knee and then an ankle, and then I might put a tiny high heel on the end. We'll see. Now take a moment to reflect back on your life and ask yourself, why are you bending tiny plastic fork tines into the legs of a small woodland insect? And I do hope you answered, because it's really f***ing cool. Okay, now we're gonna attach the legs, but I want to position them so that they're similar to how this guy's legs are positioned, because I do want to attach this to something. So let's just put them on like this. Man, doing stuff like this makes me want to get a legit torch so I can make these kind of things in glass. Who knows? Maybe it will happen one day. Okay, now that this buggy boy is done, we're gonna try and make something that he can sit on, like, he went. So we need a place for him to land.
So now, you're just gonna steal your mum's favorite salad spoon. You know, the special one. The one she only brings out when guests are over. And then heat it up with a blowtorch so it's hot enough for us to inject some... Actually, sorry, we're gonna cut off the head of the spoon, and then we're gonna heat the handle of the spoon, and then slowly rock it forwards and back in front of the flame, just like you would do with a baby on a cold winter's night, until it's hot enough that its body elongates enough that you can just snap off the head and glue it sideways to the body.
Whoa, Alex, what are you doing, dude?
Just making the videos a bit more understandable for the people watching, you know?
Yeah, I noticed. Your narration actually kind of sucks. You're not explaining anything correctly.
Yeah, or maybe you're not doing it correctly.
Look, I don't know how they do things in Australia, but here, we do things my way, okay?
Well, I just thought maybe I could help. I could just kind of jump in, and it'd just be really nice if I'm doing a bit of narration in your video. And
get out of my video. Thank you.
And
Thank you for
I
your
would
help.
Enjoy that. Maybe they would really enjoy it. Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
I
you would enjoy
know.
it
Shut
as
up.
well.
Thank you. Good God, his voice is sexy. Now, I decided to attach the little guy to his stand using epoxy because I was afraid of burning his little piggies. Before we start the next one, now is a good time to give your poopy a cuddle. Okay, now that buggy boy is done, we're going to try and make another one, but this one is going to be a little more complicated. It's a butterfly. And for this one, I'm going to be using clear cutlery and primarily the handles of these knives. For his body, which is what we're gonna work on first, I'm gonna cut them off different lengths. One a little shorter, a little longer, and then the longest. Then I'm gonna stack them on top of themselves with one of this style handle on the very top. So that way when they're all glued together, they'll kind of have a stepped look like that on the end, as well on this side. Then I'm going to be using, instead of the boater knife, I'm gonna use a stainless steel chopstick that I just happened to find in the drawer. I'm gonna heat that up and I'm gonna use it to sort of smooth over the edges, and it also really helps to sort of extra stick those bits together. So let's go ahead and get on with it. Okay, I'm cutting and stacking the bits just like I mentioned before, getting them the right length, and starting to fuse them together with the torch. Once they are stacked, going back with the chopstick and smoothing over the edges thusly, until you get it to look something like this. Now we are going to roll up a head just like we did the dragonfly. Roll it up until it looks good. And good it does look, I say. Now bloop on a globe just like we did the dragonfly. but this one's going to be a little bit bigger and sort of pointed. Like that. Chop off his head and whip out the old turbo hairdryer. Now, making the neck, we're going to stretch out the handle of a knife, bend it in half, and cut it about 2 inches long. Seal off the end. Now attach it to the body and attach his little head. Okay. Now this is going to be the hardest part so far. We're going to be using the handle of these knives to create the legs and arms. We're just going to snip off each end and then cut through each segment to divide it into 2 pieces. Once divided, we're going to use our scalpel to trim it up until it's nice and smooth. We will need 6 of these. Now, to start making the arms, heat up just the middle of 2 of those pieces and bend it into sort of a V shape. Now, returning to the other 4, we are going to elongate each one of them till about maybe 5 inches long. Like that. Thusly. Until you end up with 6 pieces that look like this. Now, go ahead and remove the fingers of a fork. We will use them to thicken the outer portion of his arm. Wavy in the flame until it's gooey, and then smoosh it together. Excuse me. Now we are going to work on his little pinchy bit in front, heating just the tip to create more of an aggressive taper. Then ooey gluey to the end, until it looks like this. It will be attaching right here. Apparently, the only thing down under about Alex is his intelligence. For the back legs, we're going to create 3 bends, the first 2 starting here and here, going in opposite directions. So 1 bend going up, the other bend going down. Now his little ankle area, we're just going to thin it out, create a bend and snip it off. You will need to make 4 of these. It will attach thusly. Now for the antenna. These are quite easy to make. Just wavy in the flame until gooey, then stretch it out very sharply. Then cut it off right at the end where it flares out. Then cut the other end maybe 2 or 3 inches long. I made several, that way I can have a selection to choose from. Now that we have all the bits and bobs made, let's go ahead and assemble it. This can be tricky because you need to make sure your fingies are not in the way, or else you might get a boo-boo. Also, while the plastic is still slightly soft, you can use that time to position it however you desire. I chose to have one arm slightly forward. Now let's attach his back legs. Just keep going, and I found an alternative way of using the chopstick. Instead of using the flame directly on the plastic, you can heat it up and then use it to melt the plastic in some of those tight, hard-to-get areas. It worked beautifully. When you get your final leg attached, it's a good idea to put it on a surface, that way you make sure all legs are touching the ground. Now, the final step, warm up his dome with the torch until it's nice and gooey. Then squish in the antenna, and now you're finished. Only if you're lazy and don't want to give it a paint job, like I did.
And so remember, before you just chuck out all that takeout trash, you can turn these into this. Wait, sorry. No, I mean, you can make these. And now that I've taught you the ways of the plastic buggy boys, I want to tell you about today's sponsor, Raycon. As you probably already know, Raycons start at about half the price of other premium wireless earbuds on the market. They also sound just as amazing or better in my opinion as all the other top brands you know. And you know the holidays are coming up and they would make an amazing gift because it literally is something the person you give them to can use every single day. 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, and by seamless I mean as soon as you open the little door and then connected, it's like within a few seconds. They have more bass and a super compact design for a comfortable noise isolating fit. And if you're not into the black like I wear, they come in a buttload of fun colors. Everyone will love these that you give them to. I love them. I wear them all the time while I'm working. I mean, even Herbert loves them. So if you're interested in checking them out, right now is the best time because if you go to the link in the description or go to buyraycon.com/Bobby Duke, you will get 20% off your purchase. Thank you so much to Raycon for sponsoring this video and so many of my others. I also want to give a huge thank you to Alex from I Did a Thing. If you guys don't know about his channel, you really should check it out. He's hilarious and he does some crazy projects. So if you're into engineering and comedy, then you'll love his channel. I highly recommend it. Thank you, Alex. You did a great job. I loved your sculpture. Also, a buttload of you have been asking about merch, and it is coming very soon. I'm gonna hopefully have a store ready for you guys in time for you to order before Christmas, so keep your butts peeled for that one. Thank you guys so much for watching. I always appreciate it. And remember, if the women don't find you handsome, then they should at least find you handy. Keep your stick on the ice.